afternoon, everyone. My name is Aline McNall, and I'm a Senior Legislative Representative at IEEE-USA's Washington, D.C. office. I will be doing this afternoon's Washington Update, which has been pre-recorded, so if you do have any questions or comments or thoughts about it, please feel free to reach out by email. My email address is a.mcnaull@ieee.org. Let's get started. So the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee did pass out of committee the ADVANCE Act. So this is a bipartisan bill aimed at positioning the United States to be an international leader on nuclear energy technology. Like I said, it is a bipartisan bill, and we look forward to seeing where it goes in terms of the House of Representatives addressing these issues and bringing it up so that it could eventually become law. But this is certainly a bill that's of interest to IEEE Energy Policy Committee, but also the rest of IEEE in terms of the technology development addressed in the bill. So a few key provisions in it is that it does facilitate America's nuclear leadership by empowering the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to lead international forums to develop regulations that for advanced nuclear reactors. It establishes a joint initiative between the Departments of Commerce and Energy to facilitate outreach to nations that are seeking to develop advanced nuclear energy programs. Other things in the bill is that it supports the development and deployment of new nuclear technology by reducing regulatory costs for companies, as well as creating a prize incentive program for the successful deployment of next-generation nuclear reactor technology. A few other things in the bill include that it preserves existing nuclear energy by modernizing outdated rules that restrict international investment. It extends policies necessary to enable the continued operation of today's reactors. It strengthens America's nuclear fuel cycle and supply chain infrastructure by directing the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to establish an initiative to enhance preparedness to qualify and license advanced nuclear fuels, as well as identifying modern manufacturing techniques to build better, faster, and cheaper nuclear reactors in the United States. Lastly, the bill authorizes funding to assist in cleaning up legacy abandoned mining sites on tribal lands. So some questions that have come up in various hearings in both the House and the Senate on nuclear technology and nuclear energy include: how can the U.S. improve our nuclear energy technology workforce? How can the U.S. expand our grid for clean and secure energy sources, including nuclear? What is necessary to assure that domestic infrastructure is in existence for expanding our domestic nuclear supply? And then what utilities and other industries, what are they looking for in deploying nuclear technology? What are regulatory issues that Congress and other entities within the federal government would need to address to assure a robust nuclear industry? And what is necessary to increase U.S. competition in international markets? So these are some questions that have come up in hearings. And I look forward to working with our congressional representatives to answer those questions and to bring answers from IEEE members, whether on the Energy Policy Committee or any IEEE member that is interested in kind of engaging with Congress on these issues. I would encourage you to reach out. Moving on to space policy, for those of you who follow our Washington updates on a bi-weekly basis, you'll know that last update was largely on remote sensing, but I did want to update you on the four kind of pillars of our space policy work this year. And for any of you interested, we are revitalizing the Space Ad Hoc Committee and look forward to working with our membership throughout the United States on our space policy portfolio. So the four pillars include remote sensing, orbital debris, and space traffic management, space power and propulsion, as well as space cybersecurity. So a bit more on remote sensing, we're looking at implications for AI and as well as implications for high performance computing and data management for remote sensing data. We're looking at working with the international community and especially the developing world to share data and build tools for environmental monitoring. For orbital debris and especially space traffic management, we're considering both the Biden and the Trump administration's plans that both administrations have research and development plans for implementation to mitigate orbital debris. And we're looking at how are these agencies that are included in the plans, the Department of Defense, NASA, Department of Commerce, how are they doing in terms of their roles to ensure space traffic management and to ensure that we mitigate orbital debris wherever possible. Space power and propulsion. So the NASA reauthorization will include a funding stream for space nuclear power and propulsion, and we hope to see that as robust as possible, of course. And we'll be working with Congress to help advocate for space nuclear power. But also we're looking at questions including how can we ensure robust funding for space nuclear that also affects our domestic nuclear R&D funding as well. On space cybersecurity, we're looking at this from a commercial space sector perspective. So how can industry and especially small businesses partner with NASA and other space agencies while ensuring their own cybersecurity? It's such a big topic, and a lot of small businesses are so short-staffed that we're looking at what the federal role is in ensuring that small businesses are able to comply with any regulations or any issues regarding cybersecurity. An update on defense policy includes that the House Committee on Armed Services will mark up the FY24 National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA. On June 13th, many of the subcommittees will hold their markups. So this includes the subcommittees on strategic forces, cyber information, technology and innovation, sea power and projection forces, military personnel, tactical air and land forces, as well as the Intelligence and Special Operations Subcommittee. On June 14th will be the Subcommittee on Readiness, and then on June 21st, we're looking forward to the full committee markup of this year's National Defense Authorization Act. IEEE is looking at many different amendments in the bill, and we're looking at including some issues relating to orbital debris, but also other issues in the bill as it moves forward. A quick update on NSF programs. IEEE has been working with the NSF on expanding the EPSCoR program, a program we have certainly helped champion within the CHIPS Act. So the NSF's established program to stimulate competitive research, or EPSCoR, seeks to expand opportunities for diverse faculty, staff, and student participation through a geographic approach focused on strengthening research. So a lot of NSF research, as many of you are aware, go to certain tech hubs within the country, and NSF is looking at expanding those tech hubs through this stimulating competitive research program. So the NSF established a committee on equal opportunities in science and engineering, which has a subcommittee on the future of the EPSCoR program. That subcommittee did create a report on this issue, and based on the recommendations and feedback that the NSF received out of that report, it has created 2 new funding opportunities, which I'll discuss in a minute. These are the eCore and the eRISE programs. So a quick overview of the eCore program. eCore is the EPSCoR collaborations for optimizing research ecosystems, research infrastructure improvement program, which supports jurisdictions in building capacity and targeted research infrastructure. The program's jurisdiction includes research administration, facilities, higher education pathways, K-16 STEM education, broadening participation, workforce development, national and global partnerships, community engagement and outreach, early career research trainee pathways, and economic development, as well as use-inspired research. So this is again looking at expanding EPSCoR and looking at how we can target research infrastructures in geographic areas that have been so far underrepresented in terms of NSF funding. The eRISE program is the Research Incubators for STEM Excellence Research Infrastructure Improvement Program. So eRISE supports the incubation of research teams and products in STEM topical areas that link research priorities identified in science and technology plans. The eRISE invites proposals that will lead to development and implementation of sustainable broad networks of individuals, institutions, and organizations that will transform STEM research capacity throughout the country and competitive in jurisdictions of the chosen fields of research. So for any other questions about NSF programs, please feel free to reach out, but I did want to highlight a couple of these changes in the EPSCoR program. An update on the CHIPS Act. It's certainly a bill that we have been working in terms of implementation with Congress. So Congress is looking at the different agencies in the bill and how they're implementing the programs that were authorized and also appropriated in the bill. So the CHIPS Research and Development Office, which is responsible for integrating programs that will grow America's semiconductor manufacturing, did make some staff changes and hired a few new folks in that office. So I've listed them in the slide. The program includes the National Semiconductor Technology Center, or NSTC, the National Advanced Packaging Manufacturing Program, up to 3 new Manufacturing USA institutes dedicated to semiconductors, and then the CHIPS R&D Metrology Program. So the metrology program, of course, has a new director, and then their associate directors, the executive director, the deputy director, and the actual director of the new office are listed here. A quick shout out to our new WISE interns who have recently arrived in our DC office. So I wanted to promote the program throughout the legislative update as well. So this is our Washington internship for students in engineering program. This year it'll run from June 4th to August 5th, but those are the approximate dates each year. Applications will be February 1st of next year for next summer, should any of you watching be interested in looking at policy issues from a federal perspective. It's a program that allows students to come to Washington, D.C. and interact with many different agencies, with the White House, and learn about the resources throughout the D.C. community and science and technology policy. It was founded through a collaborative effort and for several professional societies, and the program introduces interns to the intersection of science and technology policy. So happy to forward you any information should any of you reach out about that program. But I did want to certainly welcome our interns this summer and look forward to seeing them around the office. Thank you so much for listening to today's legislative update. Here is the section where you would post your comments, questions, and wise remarks on our social media. Since this has been pre-recorded, I would encourage any of you with any questions or comments to certainly reach out by email. Again, my email is a.mcnaull@ieee.org. Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.